Let me tell you why the IRS actually has a cheat code for your healthcare and for even some of your technology purchases. I'm talking about the HSA and the FSA. These accounts offer massive tax advantages that works out to be roughly 30% on medical expenses once you factor in income tax and payroll tax savings. I personally chose the FSA this year because it gives me access to my entire annual budget on day one. I have medical expenses this year, so having this account gives us instant savings, not just long-term benefits. Now here's the thing, most people think HSAs and FSAs are just boring HR benefits. Something you check a box on during open enrollment, it's something your employer offers, and it's something you don't think about often until you're at the pharmacy or at the dentist. But that mindset is costing people tens, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars over their lifetime. Because buried inside these boring accounts is one of the most powerful and most misunderstood tax strategies available to everyday investors. In fact, if you understood how one of these accounts worked correctly, one of them can function like a stealth retirement account. And one of them can give you instant tax savings every single year. And choosing the wrong one or ignoring them completely can quietly drain your net worth over time without realizing it. Here's the real problem. Most people don't know the difference between an HSA and an FSA. They don't know who actually qualifies, they don't realize how much money they could be saving, and they definitely don't know what these accounts can really be used for. And because of that, they often leave free money on the table, or even worse, they actively make a suboptimal choice every single year. So today, we're gonna fix that. By the end of this video, you'll understand the real pros and cons of HSAs versus FSAs, how much money you can actually save with real numbers, who each account makes sense for, and what you can buy with these accounts, including medical devices, wearables, and everyday items most people don't realize that are eligible. Welcome back to the channel where business, money, and investing actually make sense. Before we get started, do me a quick favor, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It really helps the channel grow and lets me keep putting out clear, practical investing content like this out every week. All right. Let's get into it. All right, let's go over the core difference. There's ownership and control. At a high level, both HSAs and FSAs let you pay for medical expenses with pre-tax dollars. And that's where the similarities end. The single biggest difference between these two accounts is ownership and control. With an HSA, you own the money. With an HSA, or a health savings account, the money belongs to you. Not to your employer and not to the insurance company, it's your money. If you change jobs, if you quit, or if you start a business, the account goes with you. You control how much you contribute, how the money is invested, when you withdraw it, and how the money is used. This alone makes HSAs fundamentally different than FSAs. And with an FSA, your employer owns the rules. An FSA or flexible savings account and it's employer sponsored, that means if you leave or quit, you lose access to the account. The rules are set by your employer and unused money can expire. This difference in ownership drives almost every pro and con we're about to talk about. Let's go over eligibility. Who can actually use these accounts? Before we talk strategy, we need to talk about eligibility because not everyone qualifies for both. HSA eligibility rules state to contribute, you must be enrolled in a high deductible health plan, not be enrolled in Medicare, not be claimed as a dependent, and not have other disqualifying healthcare coverage. For 2026, a high deductible health plan must have a minimum deductible of $1,700 for individuals or $3,400 for families. If you don't meet these requirements, you simply cannot contribute, even if you wanted to. With FSA eligibility rules, FSA rules are a lot simpler. You must be an employee of a company that offers one. Self-employed individuals generally do not qualify, and rules vary by employer. That means you could qualify for an FSA, but not an HSA. You could qualify for an HSA, but not have access to an FSA. And some people qualify for neither. Let's cover contribution limits. How much can you put in? Let's talk numbers. HSA contribution limits in 2026 for an individual is $4,400. And for a family, it's $8,750. If you're 55 and above, you can do an additional $1,000 for catch-up. These limits include your contributions and employer contributions. FSA contribution limits in 2026 for an individual is $3,400. There's no catch-up contributions, there's no family multiplier, and again, your employer rules apply. Right away, you can see HSAs allow more money to be sheltered from taxes. Now let's go over the tax advantage, where the real value is. This is where things get interesting. With pre-tax contributions, both accounts reduce your taxable income. If you're in the 22% federal tax bracket and contribute $3,000, you just saved $660 in federal income taxes immediately. If you contributed through payroll, you also avoid the 7.65% FICA tax. That's another $229. That's nearly $900 of saving on nearly $3,000. Now here's a HSA Triple Tax Advantage. HSAs go even further. Money goes in tax-free, money grows tax-free, and money comes out tax-free for medical expenses. There's no other account that does this. Not the 401k, not the Roth IRA, nothing compares to this. Here's something that most people miss. In the state of California, HSA contributions are not state tax deductible. FSA contributions are. That slightly reduces the short-term HSA advantage. But this is critical. It does not eliminate the long-term benefit, especially once investing is involved. Now let's go over why HSAs are a secret wealth tool. Once your HSA balance reaches a minimum balance threshold, which is approximately $1,000 to $2,000, you can invest it. That means you can invest in index funds, ETFs, or mutual funds. Now let's do simple math. If you invest $4,000 every year for 30 years at a 7% annualized return, you'll end up with over $400,000. And if used for medical expenses, that money comes out tax-free. This is why many high-income earners pay medical expenses out of pocket, let the HSA grow untouched, and reimburse themselves decades later. And with FSAs, there's no investing, there's no compounding, and there's no long-term strategy. Let's go over some retirement rules, which is a game changer. After age 65, HSAs become even more powerful. Your medical withdrawals are tax-free, non-medical withdrawals are taxed like a traditional IRA, and there's no penalty. That means your HSA effectively becomes a medical Roth IRA and a backup traditional IRA. And with FSAs, you have no retirement function at all. They end, period. Now let's talk about the Big FSA Risk. FSAs come with a catch. Unused money can be forfeited. Some plans allow up to a $680 carryover or a 2.5-month grace period. But beyond that, the money is gone. With HSAs, the funds never expire. That single rule makes FSAs best for predictable expenses and with short-term planning. HSAs are best for long-term thinkers, investors, and high-income earners. Now let's go over what you can actually buy. This is where people are usually shocked. There's automatic eligible expenses, which are doctor's visits, prescriptions, dental and vision, physical therapy, mental health care, and labs and imaging. Here are a couple over-the-counter items, which are pain relievers, allergy medications, cold and flu medicines, menstrual products, condoms, and sunscreen. There's also medical devices and some technology. Items that are eligible include blood pressure monitors, glucose monitors, pulse oximeters, CPAP machines, and smart thermometers. There's also wearables and smart watches. These include the Apple Watch, the Garmin, an Oura Ring, and Whoop. These are not automatically eligible though. But with a letter of medical necessity, they can also be qualified if they are used to monitor heart conditions, track sleep disorders, and manage chronic illness. Here's a couple others, which are family and travel. These include breast pumps, prenatal vitamins, baby monitors, first aid kits, motion sickness bands, and prescription sunglasses. Now let's go over who should use what. HSAs are best if you're generally healthy, you can afford the deductible, you want long-term tax-free growth, you think like an investor, and you want flexibility and control. FSAs are best for if you have predictable annual expenses, you expect a large procedure, you don't qualify for an HSA, and you want guaranteed short-term savings. HSAs and FSAs are not just benefits, they are financial tools. One is built for long-term wealth, tax optimization, and retirement flexibility. The other one is built for short-term savings, predictable spending, and simplicity. Choosing correctly can quietly improve your finances each and every year. If this video helped you, make sure you like and subscribe and share with someone who's still confused about HSAs and FSAs. And drop a comment below. Let me know which one you're using or if you're thinking about switching. I'll see you in the next one.